Five Nights at Freddy's Security Blood by yours truly. First off, my name's Henry, I'm 14, and I've always been a big gamer. I have hundreds of hours logged into Clash of Clans and Call of Duty, and though I'm not very good at these games, I still find myself entranced while playing them. I was first introduced to them by my sister, who was a big horror game fanatic. I know what you're thinking. Henry, only lesbian girls play video games. Well, you would be correct since my sister is a lesbian, but that's not a very inclusive thing to say about female gamers who are straight. My sister got me into playing horror games like Slender Man, The 8 Pages. It was the most fun I've had playing a game, as it made my adrenaline rush whenever that tall, bald guy would sneak up behind me and almost get me. Around that time she introduced me to that game, a game called Five Nights at Freddy's came out. As soon as I played that, I was hooked. I have completed nearly every game that has come out since multiple times. When I learned that one day the founders of the pizza company in-game was also named Henry, I was ecstatic. Till this day, I still plan to rename my last name to Emily so I can be just like the co-founder. A few weeks ago, another Five Nights at Freddy's game came out called Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. I was so excited for this game's release, as it had already been delayed. I had a very high-end PC to play it on. When I'm not watching FNAF edits, I'm usually on other more inferior games like Gary's Mod, where I also have FNAF mods installed, as well as other horror-related things installed. It is so fun to play as a robot bear being chased by an AI-controlled Slender Man, though not as fun as listening for the sounds of animatronics in the dark like in FNAF 4. I only had one small issue. I did not have enough money to get the game. Whenever I am given money, I go on a spending spree on getting horror items. I have a Chica clock, a Husky plushie with a bloody smile I painted on it, and even a replica of the Eyeless Jack mask. I guess you can say my spending habits aren't very good. I begged my sister to get it for me, but she wouldn't. She bought the game day one and said she regretted buying it. She also said much of what was advertised wasn't even in the game. When she told me this, I got mad. Not that the game sucked, but for her insulting such a masterfully crafted game. I didn't want any spoilers, so I hadn't watched any gameplay of the game, but I thought about how she was just mad that the game had free roam and it wasn't like the other games. In a fit of rage at the time, I punched her in the pussy. Boy oh boy did I regret it. I had never hit anyone before, let alone a girl. I couldn't believe I hit my sister. Soon after that, I was grounded by my stepmom. I couldn't make any money and I wasn't allowed to play any video games. I thought about killing my stepmom to get the insurance money, but I would probably get busted and go to juvie. I did the next best thing I could do, see if I could find enough money in my room and steal money from my sister's purse. After hours of searching, I found $15 in my room. I had to wait until night to sneak into my sister's room to steal from her purse. Time passed and I was able to sneak into her room while she was asleep. I found her Jane the Killer-inspired purse and dug through it quietly. I was able to get $20 out and successfully slip away unnoticed. I ran into another problem. I only had $35. Damn it, I whispered to myself. I knew I was going to have to resort to my final plan. Panhandle for more money. I went to sleep dreaming about Security Breach and how much fun it would be. Morning comes and I go outside with my torn up shirt and baggy cargo pants. I looked poor enough because I was. I go to my town square and I started begging. I tried and tried to beg for more. I had a total of $5 extra when a man came up to me. He was a well-kept person with brown hair, a button-up shirt with a tie and dress pants. I thought he was going to try to steal my money when he asked me, "Hey kid, what you doing out here? Where's your parents?" I replied, "Oh, I'm just trying to get enough money to buy myself some food. My parents, I'm not sure where they are." The man wasn't buying my story, so he asked, "Why are you really out here?" I confessed, "I'm trying to buy a game on my computer, but I'm a few bucks short." He grinned and said, "Well, you could have just said so. I have a few games I'm trying to get rid of. I have them in my car. I can grab." I suspected he was trying to kidnap me and sell me to some human traffickers or stuff me into animatronic suits. So I said, "No, I don't want to follow you to your car. I know stranger danger." He had a confused look on his face and said, "No, I was just going to say I'll go get it from my car and I'll bring it to you." "Oh, okay. Sorry about that," I said. He asked which game it was I wanted, and I said Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Ooh, that one's new. Nevertheless, I still have a copy, he replied. After a few minutes, he came over with a game case. It didn't have any cover art, so I was skeptical. I think he saw the skepticism on my face, so he said, "I can assure you this is the game that you were looking for." I took it from him. Joy and excitement started to rise in me. "Thank you," I told the man. He smiled and said, "Enjoy your new game, Henry." I stopped and looked at him. "How did you know my name?" I said, startled. He replied, "Just a lucky guess." I ran home, excited to play my new game. I go into my room, started up my PC, and popped the disc into my PC, and it started installing. While installing, I decided to take a shower for this special occasion. My first one in weeks, might I add. After getting out, I put on my clean Bonnie the Bunny onesie and headed to my room. On my PC, I could see the game was almost done installing. I noticed something, though. Above the installation bar, I saw that the name of the game wasn't Security Breach. Instead, it said Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. I laughed, thinking it was a bug from the developers. "Yup, this game sure is buggy, sis," I whispered to myself. The game finished installing and it automatically launched. The main menu didn't have a title. It just had an empty arcade and had 3 options: New Game, Settings, and Escape. I clicked New Game. The game started out by putting me in a cell. It was dark. I didn't even have a flashlight. I walked around a bit, wondering if I could find a switch or a flashlight. Eventually I heard a voice. It sounded like a raspy woman crying for help. I looked around and saw these LED eyes from outside the cell. There were at least 4 of them going around outside my cell. They weren't looking at me, but looked like they were running. Must be the animatronics chasing that blonde lady from the teasers, I thought to myself. Surely she'll make a notable appearance in this game, I also said to myself. After a minute of wandering around in my cell, the lights came on. It looked like I was in a dressing room. I noticed that was very short too. There was an open vent, and it was very obvious I was supposed to go through the vent, but I decided to stay and see if I could find anything in the room. I swear I could hear a male robot voice. Must be Freddy, I told myself. I climbed through the vent and I seemed to be passing by another dressing room, though it was empty. I hopped out of the vent and I was outside of the cell I was just in. The game directed me towards this robot that looked like one of those wet floor signs. I noticed that below the sign was a flashlight. I grabbed the flashlight and I turned around to see a silhouette of a robot. It looked like Freddy, so I made my way towards him. I noticed it seemed like my flashlight didn't reflect off him. In fact, it wasn't even lighting him up so I could see him. When I got close enough to him, my screen went black. I thought my game crashed, so I angrily murmured, "No!" My screen slowly faded in to show I was beside some doors. They were shut with some metal things in front of them. There was a tablet on the wall and it told me I could save, so I did. After I did so, my game crashed. "Oh, what?" I said to myself. This game really is buggy then. I noticed the shortcut for the game was added to my desktop. I double-clicked it and after a short few seconds, the game booted back up. Instead of New Game, there was an option to load a save. I clicked that and it had the save I had created just before the game crashed. I clicked it and it brought me to a loading screen. There was a piece of text in the middle of the screen telling me some of the lore of the game. Apparently, my character's name was Gregory and I am inside the Pizzaplex. I was confused as to why the game didn't tell me this initially at the start. I assumed it was supposed to at the start before the game skipped me forward. When I loaded back in, I noticed something strange. On the doors, it said, "You shouldn't have come back," in blood. I thought this was a gimmick the game had. I thought it was neat initially. I turned around and I saw the bright lights of the Pizzaplex. A robotic voice instructed me to find a key card to progress forward. I looked around and saw a present with lights all around it. I went over to search it and I had found the key card. I go to the entrance to see a giant statue of Freddy. I know this game is supposed to feel very 80s, so you would expect Freddy to be in some sort of rock star pose, but he was just standing there. As I go forward, I saw the silhouette of Freddy again. Panicking, I hid inside of a cart. I could hear him walking around. I heard him talking. I heard him say, "Come out, Gregory, you little F-slur." This had shocked me because I thought Freddy was an ally of the LGBTQ, and I was thinking about how there was no outrage if this was something he had said in the game. He eventually passed and I moved on. I eventually reach the part where you are in the daycare. I go down the slide and go into the ball pit. I go into a cutscene where you meet the Sun Moon animatronic. He brings me out of the ball pit and the screen cuts to my character in the dark and Sun Moon nowhere to be found. There's no objective, so I wander around the area and I find some generators. I turn 2 on. Before I get to the third one, I am killed. Not by Sun Moon, but this Gator animatronic. When did he get here? I thought this was Sun Moon's part. I'm expecting to be put back up by the doors, but I am put in the ball pit. I sigh in relief, as I didn't want to walk all the way back here. However, whenever the cutscene started, I noticed Sun Moon sounded more somber. He kept saying,
"I'm so sorry,"
and
"Please be more careful."
Before he put me down, he shook my character, saying,
"Do not let this happen again."
My screen cut to black before it put me back where I was, in the dark. I started with the generator I had died at, and then the second one. I noticed that there was a desk. I go over to it, and I noticed there was another flashlight. I couldn't grab it, as I had already had the one they gave me at the start. I go over to the third generator, and the lights came back. It was quiet, which is strange, since there was music playing when I got here. I went over to the desk, and I noticed I was able to charge my flashlight. After it was fully charged, I turned around and I saw a silhouette of Freddy. I saved my game, but this time it didn't crash. I looked back and Freddy was gone. I left the area to find the rest of the Pizzaplex dark. It had a lullaby playing, so I assumed something was after me. Strangely enough, though, nothing was, or so I thought. I was jump scared by the same gator who I hadn't even heard. I was frustrated since I assumed my game was broken. When I respawned, I was in some room. I noticed both the doors on each side of me were closed. There were 4 monitors in front of me. On them displayed the face of Freddy. I finally got to see what he had looked like. I liked how scary he looked. His eyes were red, his many teeth, and how broken he looked. I was confused though, as I swear he had a different design in the trailers. I then remembered how the statue looked. It was different. Are there 2 Freddys in this game? Before I had time to think, I heard this piercing, throbbing noise. The edges of my screen were blurring before looking behind me to see there was an open vent. I crawled through it and everything suddenly stopped. I tried to move, but I was frozen. Suddenly, the game went black and I was put in a storage room. I see some exoskeletons on the floor. Now, I had heard about this part of the game from my sister. You were supposed to look at the exoskeleton so they didn't move and kill you. This is when I started to think something was wrong. Why was the game skipping me around so often? Who is this second Freddy? I was walking through the storage room and I heard the clanking of metal behind me. I turned to see an exoskeleton. I turned back around and started sprinting. I was able to push a button and go into this room. Out of nowhere, Sun Moon appeared. He was just talking very somberly to himself when he looked at me. He started to crawl towards me when he just vanished out of nowhere. I make it into this padded room that looks similar to the daycare and Sun Moon appeared again. He was able to start talking this time, but he sounded different. He sounded like a kid, younger than me. When he started talking, he was referring to not Gregory, but to me. He said to me,
"You have to leave before he gets here. Leave and do not come back. Please."
He disappeared again. I tried pausing the game to exit the game, but I couldn't. I tried to alt-tab out of the game, but my screen glitched out, and it had a picture of a very distressed Chica. Seeing as I couldn't do anything, I decided to keep playing. Stupid, I know, but I was very curious. When I was brought back to the game, I was put back at the Pizzaplex. Something odd I noticed was the lack of the janitor robots. There were none there. An objective appeared on my screen. Continue. I heard the same voice from earlier start telling me I needed to go to Phaser Blast. I make my way there, but I feel like something is watching me. I go through where I come across a Phaser Blaster. I continue till I get to the elevator that takes me to the maze. When the elevator doors open, I am greeted with a horrific sight. Blood smears the walls. Animatronic parts are everywhere. My objective is to capture the flag. I wander around the maze to find this flag when I hear metal clanking. I hear something talk in a distorted, deep, robotic voice.
"I am going to kill you."
My paranoia is made worse as I scour the maze. I found many hiding places in the maze, which is strange. The strangest part about it, though, is the placements of these hiding places. Lockers and carts are not supposed to be in this laser tag area. I guess blood isn't either, but still. I find the flag, I take it, and instead of delivering it somewhere, my objective is to escape. I run throughout the maze when I find one of the animatronics in this game lying in pieces on the floor. My screen then flashes red and there are words scrambling the screen. A distorted yell is played while this is on the screen. I jump back in my seat, nearly falling over. I'm teleported to a random spot inside of the maze. I walk around and notice there's something watching me overhead in this room. It's the same Freddy silhouette I saw in the play area. As I wander through the blood-soaked maze, I see another animatronic. It's Chica, but she's sprawled out on the floor. I can hear her saying something. Not sure what, though. I'm jump scared with an image of Chica, who is crying with the text, "Save us," is flashed on the screen. I am again teleported, this time into the glass room where I can see the maze. Worried, I look beside me to see that no one's there. I look back down and I see Sun Moon and the gator. The gator is on the floor with his head missing. I quickly realize that Sun Moon is holding his head, crying. He's saying,
Why did none of you listen to me?
in the same voice of a child that I had heard earlier. He looked up at me as I stood watching. He then spoke.
Henry, there's still hope for you. Leave. Find a way.
I then saw the second Freddy in the maze. He was on the opposite side of the wall where Sun Moon was. With all the lights, I could see what this Freddy looked like. Apart from his red eyes and sharp teeth, his body had pieces of bone sticking out. His legs were the same as the Music Man, only sharper. His arms were lanky and didn't even look real. It didn't even look like it was a part of the game. The game's objective updated. Watch. I was horrified. I wanted to shut off my PC, but it was like I was put under a spell. I was paralyzed. This second Freddy was walking around the corner. Sun Moon ran. I knew there was no hope for him. I wanted to help him, but there was nothing I could do. It looked like this second Freddy was just toying with Sun Moon. He knew that his fate was sealed and he was helpless. After what felt like minutes, the second Freddy crawled on top of the maze walls. He was able to find Sun Moon with ease. He grabbed him and tore him in half. My ears pierced with the screams of Sun Moon. With both parts of Sun Moon in hand, the second Freddy looked up at me. It looked like he was grinning. He then threw the upper half of Sun Moon at me, which transitioned into a jump scare. The image of this one was worse than the other few I had seen. Sun Moon was angrily screeching with blood coming from his eyes and mouth. I was able to move again. I quickly pulled the PC's plug from the wall. It felt like I was out of breath from watching all that. Since this, I've been having nightmares. It seems like every night in my dreams that thing is waiting for me. I almost had a panic attack from deleting all the Freddy Fazbear memes from my phone. I'm too scared to turn on my PC, even though I'd taken out the disc from a PC. Odd things seem to keep happening to me. I feel like I can hear him under my bed or in the closet. Sometimes I feel like he's in the walls or just outside. One thing I can't get out of my head is that man. Who was he? Did he make the game like that? Why did he give me that game? How did he know my name? Has he played it? I feel like I see him whenever I go outside. I don't think I can forget him and that smile he wears alongside that damn purple outfit.